Tom Verducci, senior baseball writer at Sports Illustrated, did a great job in summarizing what Alex Rodriguez is in for, what he's done, what he takes on a daily basis, I guess. I don't know how he has the time to take all of these performance-enhancing drugs, Tom. Yet that's a long list of things that Alex is accused of taking here.
How do you keep them all straight, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing. He's got, according to the records of Tony Bosch, drug regimens for the morning, noon, and night.
Wow.
I mean, it's around the clock. It's 7 days a week. It surprised me how many of the substances were injectables as well. Scary.
Well, do these guys got track marks? I mean, are there needle marks?
Well, most of this stuff is taken underneath folds of the skin and aren't injected intramuscularly or intravenously. So, there has to be some sort of, scar tissue. I mean, if you take enough of the HGH, you're taking it, say, 3-4 times a week, twice a day. There's got to be some kind of buildup, you would think, of just poking the skin that many times.
All right, summarize this Miami clinic, this wellness clinic, and how this is going to affect baseball this year.
Well, I mean, listen, what we know now, Dan, there's not enough information, at least the threshold isn't high enough to warrant any discipline by Major League Baseball. They've only really begun their investigation. They don't have subpoena power, so they can't compel the players to basically swear under oath what's happening here. It all comes down to, A, whether they can get their hands on the original documents from the Miami New Times, and the Miami New Times is actually considering doing that. And even if they don't, they can work off the photocopies that the New Times has put online as a roadmap to try to piece these things together and find a paper trail of some sort, whether that's FedEx packages, airplane receipts that show travel by Tony Bosch to visit players, whatever it may be that would lead to what they call non-analytical positives. That is, you don't have a positive drug test, but you still could suspend somebody if there's enough evidence. All
right, with Ryan Braun yesterday and what that means, now he said, I have nothing to hide. But it feels like baseball, if they're going to go in, you can't go in and not get Braun this time around after what happened. But they want Braun. They want him badly. A-Rod, we're not surprised with. But if you're Ryan Braun, how concerned are you?
I think you should be very concerned. I agree that a lot of people in baseball inside the game believe that he got away on a technicality. He had a positive sample of an extremely high level of testosterone last year, 2011 postseason, and got off really on a technicality. The samples that were triple sealed, and the seals were not broken, so he argued the chain of custody of the sample, not that the sample itself was tampered with. So they thought he got off on a technicality. Now, here he comes up. His name comes up again in the notebooks of Tony Bosch. I thought the explanation he came up was, let's call it inventive and interesting. I mean, listen, this is a guy with a $100 million contract, access to the best medical care in the world. He's fighting for his baseball life and reputation with a positive drug test. And he's going to some guy who's not even a physician, not a licensed medical practitioner, as his expert consultant on drug custody chains. I mean, are you kidding me? This guy's running a wellness clinic at a strip mall in South Florida, and that's your consultant to go to?
Yeah, once I find you in a strip mall, then I have big concerns. But it's like A-Rod had this guy who was not even licensed to perform in the United States, the Canadian doctor, and Tiger Woods was going to him. Are you trying to tell me with all your money and all your connections, you can't find somebody to do something for you here in the United States? There's a reason why you were going to these guys.
Exactly, and in that case, in Tony Galea's case, he was not licensed to practice in the United States. They're flying the guy in from Canada to treat them in hotels on the road. I mean, I know Cervelli came out with a statement that said he broke his foot, so he consulted with Tony Bosch. This is in March, spring training. The Yankees train in Tampa. He's got a broken foot, and he's going to a wellness clinic to try to heal a broken foot. And we're all supposed to sit here after what we've gone through for the last 20 years and say, okay, let's move on. Nothing to see here.
Talking to Tom Verducci, senior baseball writer, Sports Illustrated. So the next step, from what I'm told, is that there are probably 10 more names that will be revealed, and that eventually the feds get involved. Once the feds get involved, then you get subpoena power, and then all of a sudden Congress is going to get involved, and then it's going to detonate here.
Yeah, it's game on if the feds get involved here, and the DEA apparently has been sniffing around. But I have not heard that they're in this really heavily and running an active investigation. If that does happen, you're right. Then you've got people who have to comply with their request to cooperate, especially Tony Bosch. And then generally, the MLB investigators can work in concert with the feds, which happened in the Verducci case. And then you've got a lot of a treasure trove of information and verifiable information that would lead to suspensions. So we're not there yet. And again, if MLB has to go on their own here, do it alone, it's going to be hard for them to really nail this thing down.
You're right. Here was another thing. I mentioned this at the top of the show, and that is that I was told that A-Rod has said he does not want to play anymore. He had told friends that he would rather not try to come back, and then he could go away, that he'd get paid. The insurance company would take care of that. The Yankees would be off the hook. Everybody could live happily ever after that. Problem is getting popped here if baseball's investigating this, and then all of a sudden are the Yankees going to look at that? Does he now have to play because he can't, the insurance company is not going to cover this because he's using performance-enhancing drugs?
Well, I don't know that there's protection for the insurance company. That, first of all, the doctor who did his hip surgery, Brian Kelly, came out and said it was not related to steroid use.
But why would he say that? Aren't you have to have permission from your client to say that, right?
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. I mean, I don't know that he found that to be so definitive so quickly.
Yeah, A-Rod's probably going, make sure you mention not steroid related. Okay, all right.
But then, I mean, he does. I mean, I have heard that same scenario. It's certainly in play, but I will say this. For the Yankees to collect on this insurance and for A-Rod to ride off into the sunset based on a medical condition, that has to be verified by the insurance companies. I mean, they're not just letting them walk out of $114 million and they're picking up 80% of that tab just by, eyeballing him and say, yeah, you look like you can't play. Go on your merry way. I mean, that has to be something where there's a serious issue where he really can't get on the field and play. And, is that possible? I imagine it's possible. I mean, every indication right now is he's going to try to play. He's rehabbing to try to get himself back on the field.
I don't think he wants to play.
That wouldn't shock me. I mean, I think it could go either way, especially how this latest one plays out. But it wouldn't shock me unless this guy, we know about the insecurity and the vanity, and you saw how, I think, uncomfortable it was for him to perform the way he did last October. It was embarrassing. He's not going to get much better at 38 years old coming off a second hip surgery. Is that what he wants to come back to? That's a good question. I don't know that he's arrived at an answer. I mean, we can speculate, certainly, but I think it is an option that's in play.
Great work there, Tom. Thanks for joining us.
You got it, Dan.
All right.
Thanks.
Tom Verducci, senior baseball writer, Sports Illustrated.